What were they like when they began genealogy versus today? We ask in First and Now. Meet Michael John Neill, author of Genealogy Tip of the Day. So what is the first genealogy software that you used?
The first genealogy software I used was Brothers Keeper back in the day when you had a DOS prompt. It was BK hit return and it started.
What genealogy software are you using now?
The software that I use today is Roots Magic, and I use a lot of Microsoft Word for just raw editing of documents and transcriptions.
What was the first genealogy group you joined?
The first genealogy group I joined was the Knox County, Illinois Genealogical Society when I moved to, when I got my first job.
And which genealogy groups do you belong to now?
Like Jim, I belong to quite a few different genealogical societies, including the Illinois State Society and the Ohio Genealogical Society and the one in Pennsylvania.
What was the first oral interview you did for genealogy?
The first oral interview that I did for genealogy was my paternal grandmother.
And what was the last oral interview you did?
The last oral interview, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I've been interviewing myself, so to speak, and writing down things that I remember before I forget, if nothing else.
What's the first document you found?
The first document I found would have to be, I would say maybe my great-grandparents' marriage from 1903 in the local county courthouse.
And what document was your last document that you found?
One of the most recent things I found was a petition to get a pardon from the Illinois state governor from a patron of my ancestors' bar who shot a guy in the adjacent building.
What was your first genealogical challenge?
My first genealogical challenge was dealing with all of the Low German names in the maternal side of my family. I was confused because I had a double great-grandfather who was John, who had a full brother who was also named John, and it took a while to figure that out.
And what's your challenge now?
I think my challenge now is to find ways to preserve and share the information and the artifacts and whatever that I've collected over the years at this point. That's what for me is the current challenge.
What's the first advice you received?
The first advice I received was from the local librarian, was a genealogist. I was probably 12 at the time. I made several copies for a correspondent, and she said to me, make certain that person also sends you something because you're spending a couple dollars making photocopies for that person. She was afraid I was spending way too much of my allowance making photocopies.
And what advice would you give to a new researcher now?
My advice would be write down where you find things as you find it, and write your own stories down as well.